What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Skeleton Closet, where we talk celebrity news and hot topics. My name is JT, in case you are new here. Today, we're going to be talking about TheView. We have some interesting things to get into because somebody shaded one of the least problematic people on the show, and we got to get into it. So, let's get right into the video.
I'm going to just run down my shout-outs.
All right, so recently, Sunny Hostin and Sara Haines got into an interesting conversation about independence. Sara Haines is the resident independent on the show. Sunny Hostin is the legal analyst on the show, and then that leaves Whoopi as the moderator and Joy Behar as the hard-hitting liberal. So with that being said, they were having a conversation. I can't really remember what the conversation was about. It came down to independence not being able to basically pick a side. Sunny Hostin had some things to say about independence and whether or not they are actually independent or if they just don't have the balls, if you will, to pick a side when it comes to being a Democrat or Republican in this country. So let's just take a look at this quick clip from the show, and then we have to get into what Sunny Hostin had to say about Sara Haines being on the show in her recent interview with The Cut. So take a look at this.
With that, I had some stats here, and I don't have them in front of me. Hopefully, they'll give them to me in my ear. But I don't think that the majority of Americans are independents. I think that many people have switched to the independent party because they don't want the stigma and the stink of being a Trump Republican. So I don't think that people truly are independents. I think that when you
independent,
yeah,
but it's tough to be an independent.
But let me finish this because I think the bottom line is when you look at, and stats prove this, when you look at independents, they either vote Republican traditionally or they vote Democratic traditionally. My father was a registered independent forever, and I asked him recently, did you ever vote Republican? He's like, no, never. Right. Ever. And he was a registered independent for like 40 years. But that is the truth of the matter about independence.
But you just said that most of them sway right, but your dad voted left.
No, most independents either vote Republican all the time,
or you just mean
So those that are now registered independent, they just don't want the stink of being a Republican.
But I think
today.
Independents are like, there's no person, there's no party, and there's no politician that gets my vote unilaterally. I'm a registered independent. The problem is the system is built to fail. I, as a registered independent, cannot vote in the primaries in my state.
Me either,
And I believe, in 2020,
So
independents only got to vote in 22 Democratic and Republican primaries. So the system is built to vote for these candidates that are on the fringes instead of the candidates that are more centrist and moderate. So I think you need to go back and peel back the layers and say, it's the foundational principles of how we vote our candidates in are broken. The primary should be on one day, and you should be able to vote for who you want.
Okay,
and vote in one day.
Well, I can get to the center part. Similar to Anna, I have the Gallup poll stats that says, on mine, they're slightly different, but I think capture it. 29% identify as Democratic, 29% as Republican, 41% identify as independents. Yep. And I think the fact that we chose President Biden as the candidate, when you had people like Elizabeth Warren, you had Bernie Sanders, if this world was so, or if the country was so progressive, I feel like one of those candidates would have fit the bill a little better. Democrats have more kind of moderates in their party. We're seeing that the Progressive Caucus only has one senator, Bernie Sanders, in it. Among the party, we often assign
in the Senate, the Progressive Caucus in the House.
Yes, it has more.
Has many more.
But I think that's where you're seeing the indicators that I think the swing to the right that Manchin's referring to is anytime progress is moving, people struggle with what was, what is, where they're going, and I think that would be the only way I think he's tipping right, because I know center is true. I think the country is much more moderate.
If America wanted a progressive candidate, there were plenty of options, right? They selected Joe Biden because he is known as a bridge builder, somebody that can bridge that gap.
And he was the opposite of Trump. They wanted Trump out.
Right, but he's also known, that's why you saw Republicans voting for him, because he can bridge that gap and reach across the aisle. But I don't know, I think we are a centrist country. I think that we just keep getting candidates that are on the fringes, and I'll continue to say
those people who say they're center right.
options.
I don't think Manchin is right. I don't think that this country is center. I don't think this country is center-right. I don't think that the majority, again, of independents are truly independent. I mean, the study has found that exposing people who identify with a party to news coverage of partisan battles made them more likely to identify as dependent, and that roughly 3 in 4 independents still lean toward one of the 2 major political parties. I know Anna just heard that, according to Pew, 49% of independents vote Democratic, which means 51% do vote Republican. The other thing I want to say is that, you know, this Biden's Build Back Better framework is extremely popular. 61% of all likely voters support the plan.
Right.
The plan is long-term care investments, expanding Medicare to include hearing aids, housing investments, child care investments, clean energy and conservation jobs, universal pre-K. The majority of Americans want
How
that.
is that
So in that exchange, you can see that Sunny basically lets everybody know that she doesn't really believe people when they say that they are independent. Because most of the time, independents do lean left or right when it comes to certain issues. It's just they would much rather play somewhere in the middle to not have to deal with the partisan politics. That way, it is a safe ground and they can stay on the fence as long as they want to. Some people like to think that it's safe on the fence, and the longer that you ride the fence, the safer you are. So in the words of Nicki Minaj, pick a side, pick a side. Okay, which side are you actually on? What issues actually matter to you, and decide where you stand on those issues. Don't always try and play devil's advocate, because you're not going to get anywhere with that. And personally, there are some things that are affecting Americans, and when it comes time to vote, you're going to have to pick a side anyway. There aren't that many independents who actually are in national politics right now. The only notable one that I can think of is Bernie Sanders. So with that being said, you're going to have to pick a side when it comes to these issues. There is this study that came out on April 15, 2021 by 538, and it says few Americans who identify as independent are actually independent. That's really bad for politics. It says that the problem is that few independents are actually independent. Roughly 3 in 4 independents still lean toward one of the 2 political parties, and studies show that these voters aren't all that different from the voters in the party they lean toward. Independents who lean towards a party also tend to back that party at almost the same rate as openly partisan voters. If you're going to vote the way that your views align you to vote, then why are you playing this devil advocate role because you think it's safe? I feel like you should just pick a side, get off the fence, and let people know what you stand for. I feel like saying that you're independent, frankly, is a cop-out. I know that in this political climate that we're in right now, saying that you're a Republican can give people the assumption that you are a Trump ally or a Trump supporter, and someone who identifies as a Democrat could be demonized for being too radical, or like the right likes to say, you are a socialist or you're communist, or, you know, all the things that make people scared. Okay, so there are extremes to both parties, but I feel like in this political system we have right now, it is a 2-party system, and claiming that you're independent isn't helping politics whatsoever. Now, moving on from that, Sunny Hostin did recently do an interview with The Cut, and this was to promote her new book that is coming out, but the interviewer did ask her some other things as far as Meghan McCain, so we're definitely going to get into that. As well, they asked her about the COVID scare that happened when she was on the show, set to interview Kamala Harris. Then they also talked about her work and life home balance. So first, I want to talk about how she described her relationship with Meghan McCain. Hostin says the start of her friendship with McCain came about in August 2020 when McCain moderated a talk for Hostin's memoir at the 92nd Street Y. I think she thinks that people did not like her or treated her a certain way because of her opinions. I certainly don't share any of her opinions at all about anything, but I don't feel that way about her. I can't claim to understand her because I think she's very complicated. Her experience is her experience. No one can say that she didn't experience it in that way because it's hers. I didn't see it that way. I didn't experience the way that she did, but I'm going to defer to her that she experienced it like that. Basically saying that, sis, you saying you experienced something at the show is completely the way that you feel. You feel the way that you feel, and I cannot negate that, and I can't take that away from you. And I'm not trying to discredit or minimize your feelings. basically being very diplomatic about the situation and not saying that she is crazy for thinking the way that she does, or feeling that people were bullying or attacking her or creating this toxic workplace for her that did not exist. I think that Sunny does have a certain type of admiration for Meghan McCain, but when it comes to this, she's kind of like, girl, I really don't know what you're talking about because I have not experienced that with you. I have not treated you this way. I have not been in a situation with you that has created a toxic environment for you. I did not bully you. I did not do anything of the sort. So when you say things like this, I can't really understand where you're coming from because I did not experience that and I did not witness that firsthand. Now, that might be a biased opinion because Meghan was talking about her, so she is being defensive. But personally, if I'm giving my 2 cents about this, and I'm being completely honest here, I think Meghan McCain was simply upset that nobody liked her opinions and nobody would agree with her. Like I said before in my previous video, I think Meghan McCain is just used to people kissing her ass. I think she's used to being in the situation where people are constantly patting her on the back, telling her that everything's going to be okay, sweetie. You don't have to be upset. We don't have to have this conversation if it makes you uncomfortable. And that's not what grown adults do. I think she's been babied her whole life. And she acts like a princess when she's not. And I think that Nutmeg needs to grow up, be an adult that she is, understand that not everybody's going to like your opinions and not everybody's going to like you. Especially when you're working with other people. There are millions of people in the workforce that work with people that they don't like. And they don't complain about a toxic environment or being bullied at work because people don't like them or they don't like the people that they're working with. I think that that is a very, very, very childish way of thinking about how you interact with other adults and how you feel about being on a talk show where you're constantly having to share your commentary about hot topics such as the economy, foreign affairs, social justice issues, and the list goes on and on. Sis, you knew what you were signing up for, so I don't really know why you thought that this was going to be a cakewalk or you thought that everybody was just going to bend to your will or kiss your ring when that is not the case. And it never should be. I never think that someone on the show should be more superior than the others. I think that everyone should be on the show at an equal playing field because that allows for everyone to be comfortable in sharing their own opinions. And if Meghan wasn't comfortable doing that, I don't know if she didn't think it all the way through when she signed up for this job. Because you knew that you were going to be going on television day after day sharing your opinions, which are typically not popular with the vast majority of people that watch TV. Most people don't share the same opinions with her because they get their information from 1 or 2 news places. Because they love to listen in an echo chamber. They love to hear the same things over and over again. So, of course, you're going to feel like the odd man out because most of the people don't watch the show. Had you stayed on the show, maybe you could have attracted more conservative people to the show to watch it and to interact with you. But instead, you were more focused on the people that didn't agree with you. And you ran away crying, whining, pitching a fit because you didn't get your way or you couldn't get what you wanted in the candy store. But I do want to highlight the difference between this situation and Sunny Hostin's own personal experience when she was actually dealing with discrimination at ABC and on TheView. The interviewer did highlight the incident that happened in 2016. It says, throughout her career, she has often had to fight for things her contemporaries were handed. She's the only co-host in TheView history to not be formally announced, for instance. When she began her tenure in 2016, she was given a dressing room on a different floor than all of the other co-hosts. But Sunny does say Meghan came in with the crew. She came in with the PR person, hair and makeup, and with a stylist. She says, I was like, huh? I came in and was banished to the 3rd floor. No introduction. I didn't have anything. It was very different for me. Over time, she integrated herself with the viewers who turned to Hostin for her legal know-how. She's argued cases in front of the DC Circuit Court of Appeals, and her ability to spar with facts, something that's been tested throughout her tenure, most especially in the last 18 months. So if you just contrast what Sunny Hostin is talking about and what Meghan McCain is talking about, I think someone actually has a legitimate reason to feel like they were discriminated against compared to someone who just felt like they weren't liked. You know what I mean? I feel like Meghan McCain had so much more privilege in this situation than Sunny, yet Sunny's instance wasn't highlighted the way that Meghan's was. I just feel like Meghan reeks of privilege. And again, when she didn't get her way, she ran away crying like a little girl who didn't get all the candy they wanted in the candy store. And I think Nutmeg should just grow up. I'm tired of talking about this. I'm tired of talking about it. I had a lot of respect for Meghan McCain before this whole bad Republican situation. But now I think that she is a hypocrite, and I think that she needs to do a lot of growing up. Now, moving on from that, we do have to talk about the quote that was in the cut that directly had to do with her shading the hell out of Sarah. So they were talking about Meghan McCain's possible replacement, and she says, as for her thoughts on Meghan McCain's replacement, right now we still do need a really conservative voice. I also believe it's really important to not have someone on the panel who spreads misinformation, who adheres to the big lies, who is an anti-vaxxer, because I think that's dangerous. Hostin describes Behar as very progressive, which I agree with. Whoopi Goldberg, less so. Her big issue is economic and taxes, which is clear. And herself as somewhere in the middle or in the between. Progressive values and conservative values, because Sunny Hostin tends to battle with the issue of abortion and the right to choose because of her Catholic faith. Then it gets to Sara Haines. She says, Sarah says she's independent, but statistically, there have been studies that show that independent people are just people that don't want to be stigmatized by their choices. Hostin continues, is she really an independent or just somebody that won't commit? We need someone that will commit, and we don't have that voice. And we need someone that's not duplicative of anyone else on the panel. Now, Sunny Hostin, that was a little shady. You don't think Sarah's able to commit? You don't think she's able to have a backbone or have 2 feet to stand on when it comes to certain issues? So she would much rather pedal between the two so that she doesn't get attacked for her own opinions? Yeah, me too, sis. I agree. I agree 100%. I think Sara Haines is afraid sometimes to express her full-throated opinion about certain issues because she would much rather just play devil's advocate and play somewhere in the middle because that's where it's safe. So I agree with Sunny 100%. There needs to be someone on the show that has a very, very, very strong presence in the conservative movement, in the conservative community, because the show needs that. There was this one woman on the show recently by the name of Morgan Ortagus, and I was blown away because of her line of questioning with Adam Schiff. They were talking about the whole dossier situation with Donald Trump and the Russian investigation and all that type of stuff. That was very, very captivating. The way that she was questioning him and calling his credibility into question was absolutely amazing for television. I know the producers were clapping her along during that segment because he was firing back at her and she was firing back at him, and it was just great. And it doesn't seem to me that she folded under pressure. I think she did what needed to be done. She understood the assignment. The first day, she was a tad bit boring, but I think the second day, she was like, okay, I don't have to deal with these ladies tomorrow. Let me just give it the way that I'm supposed to. And she gave what was supposed to be given. And personally, I don't agree with anything that she said, but when we're talking about a talk show, we need that entertainment and we need the differing views because it is so important to have a conversation that is well-rounded and includes a lot of different voices. That's the beauty of The View. So that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below about all the ladies that they have been testing out on The View, especially Morgan Ortagus. If you saw that clip or if you saw that interview, I'll be sure to link it in the description box so you can click it and take a look at what I'm talking about as well. Let me know what you think about this interview that Sunny Hostin had with The Cut. I'll be sure to link that down in the description box as well so that you can read it and check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button so that I can know how you felt about today's video. As well, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can join us in the closet and become part of the family. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.